Everyone assumed the story would break the same way. They assumed pressure would win. They assumed quiet would rattle her. They assumed control sat with them. They were wrong, because the WNBA didn't simply underestimate Caitlin Clark. They misunderstood her entirely. For weeks, the league believed it was running a familiar script. Push, pause, apply pressure discreetly. This wasn't foreign to them. They'd watched icons bend before. They'd watched newcomers crack. They'd watched chaos die when the machine stayed rigid. So, they ran the play again. What they failed to see was that Caitlin Clark wasn't responding at all. Behind closed doors, the atmosphere stayed tight, not loud, not reckless, deliberate. According to sources near the situation, a quiet belief spread inside league rooms that Caitlin would eventually flinch, that the spotlight would grow unbearable, that pressure would extract a reaction. It never arrived. No statement, no ultimatum, no emotional slip, only silence. And silence in power struggles is terrifying because silence signals someone isn't scared. The union expected visible friction. They expected backlash. They expected noise they could manage. Instead, they received absolutely nothing else.
Around that time, I feel like most of the fans were on the side of the players, and as this has all kind of played out, the tables have turned a little bit because we've heard too much. There's been a lot of drama, and like Rebecca Lobo said, like their words that they choose in some of these press releases and some of the social media posts, I've told you guys, it feels a little childish to me. Like there are some things they've said like stop playing games, or like putting lipstick on a pig, or it's a slap in the face, and it's all of these, I don't know, it's things that you would say if you're in an argument with a friend.
Meanwhile, a different storm was brewing. Ratings stalled without her. Momentum flatlined. The energy that should have carried the league evaporated. The league was functioning on paper, but the heartbeat was gone. That's when the risk emerged. Insiders say a line was quietly crossed. No press release, no official memo, just a move, subtle but deliberate, that whispered, "Let's test how far she'll bend." They expected a crack, a moment of weakness. They got none. Caitlin Clark didn't flinch. She showed up relentlessly, played relentlessly, existed under the glare without ever faltering. And that's when the unease began to spread, slow and poisonous, panic creeping in where confidence once lived.
Players are the people that are on the committee. Let's be completely real. The most important player in CBA negotiations is Caitlin Clark. The second most important player in CBA negotiations is not necessarily Caitlin Clark, or say obviously not Caitlin Clark, it's Angel Reese. The third most important player is Sabrina Ionescu. The fourth most important player, AJ Wilson. Fifth most important player, Paige Beckers. And maybe if you want to put Paige Beckers at third, fair enough. They are the most important players. And the most important brand is Nike, who own a decent chunk of the NBA, of the WNBA. They own a decent chunk of it. They are so important, and this sums it up here.
Because the tactic meant to squeeze her backfired spectacularly. Instead of bending her, it revealed a truth the league couldn't ignore. They needed Caitlin Clark far more than she needed them. Inside whispers and closed-door talks shifted instantly. The tone wavered. Confidence fractured. Certainty vanished. When you call a bluff and nothing flinches, you realize it was never a bluff. It was authority. And Caitlin Clark held it effortlessly, without asking, without signaling, without surrender. Sources close to the union say irritation began to surface, not in public. Quiet, behind the scenes. How do you react to someone who refuses to play along? How do you press someone who isn't even afraid of the fallout?
You know the sand things that you flip over and it's like a timer? So they changed their profile picture to that. And they did that when the deadline was approaching for the last CBA deadline. I also think it's just maybe a little bit childish. I don't know. But this is what they posted. They said what it would look like to pay WNBA players what they deserve. And this was the slide that caught everybody's attention. It says the 2025 WNBA season has set records for attendance, both in total and per game, even before the playoffs. More than 3 million fans have flocked to see stars like A'ja Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces and Alyssa Thomas of the Phoenix Mercury. By many measures, it's been the most successful season in league history, but the players aren't fully sharing in that success. And a lot of people are pointing it out, you name somebody like A'ja, you name somebody like Alyssa Thomas, but why aren't you mentioning Caitlin Clark? Why aren't you mentioning the person who continues to have the highest viewership, the highest attendance, all of these things, even when she was injured? Because again, She played 13 games this past season. She didn't play very much, but when she was injured and she was still going to away games, she was signing autographs for like an hour before the game even started. Like, you would see on the television, whether it was a home fever game, away fever game, Caitlin Clark would be...
Can't. That's when the truth landed hard. This wasn't about strikes anymore. It wasn't about bargaining chips. It wasn't about power games. It was about significance. Without Caitlin Clark, the league felt smaller, quieter, less alive, and everyone could sense it. That's why the messaging softened. That's why the tone shifted. That's why urgency crept in where confidence once stood. Not because Caitlin demanded it, because the system tested her and failed. The most dangerous part? She never flaunted it. No victory lap. No smug reaction. She stayed composed. And composure is the loudest weapon in a moment like this, because it signals to everyone watching, I don't need to react. You already did. This wasn't a crash that screamed. It was a collapse that whispered, slow, and unstoppable.
Of a Caitlin Clark and an Angel Reese talking as if it's a guarantee, how important that is. Because at the end of the day, these are players that Nike, Reebok, these big brands are kind of like, Nike are putting a lot of stock in Caitlin Clark. Like, there's a lot going into Caitlin Clark. I think this Team USA camp, and imagine if Team USA fuck about and don't pick Caitlin Clark. Nike on the spot would probably just drop them. The rumor is, again, this is a complete online rumor I'm seeing on Twitter. This doesn't mean anything, but the rumor is that the Caitlin Clark shoe is going to be revealed during a Super Bowl commercial. That is what the rumor is. That is going to be revealed out during the Super Bowl, which is what, like, I'm just trying to think when it comes down to it, when is the Super Bowl?
AM Quiet Truth began rippling through meetings and whispered calls. The league didn't have the leverage it believed it held. And once that truth settles, nothing stays the same. That's why this moment matters. Not for the words spoken, not for the announcements made, but for what completely unraveled. A move was executed, pressure was applied, and Caitlin Clark didn't flinch. That's the instant the balance of power tilted and everything else followed.